How's everybody feeling? Got some energy? Talking cyber? All right. Well, thanks for sticking around. We have another very exciting business to talk about. There's some new faces in the room, so just quickly, my name is Daniel Frankenstein, managing partner and co-founder of Janvest Technologies. We are a U.S. fund that focuses exclusively on investing in the Israeli market, mostly in cyber businesses. We do mobile, e-commerce, digital media, big data. I am absolutely honored to be joined by Adi Sharabani from Skycure, and we are going to talk a little bit about first his business, his background. So without any further ado, Adi, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about Skycure.
So I'm Adi Sharabani, the CEO of the company. I've been doing and living security for the past 17 years. In my relevant background, I was a manager at a company called Watchfire. We were market leaders in the field of application security. Over there, I built and managed the security and research, and we were focused a lot of identifying the threats that we see in the wild, as well as identifying a set of products that would address those threats. In 2007, we were acquired by IBM. Over there, I took different roles. The last one was responsible for the security of IBM software products. I'm also a teacher, which I stopped doing because just this week I started living in my new home here in Palo Alto, close by at Palo Alto.
So Shabbat dinners, anyone? You know, he's new to town, so all right, okay. Well, listen, as we heard before, when you have someone, you host someone for a Shabbat dinner, they start a company, you get some equity in the company, so it works for everybody, okay?
This is how we do business.
This is how we do business, so.
Skycure was incepted essentially at the days of Watchfire and IBM, where we saw that every laptop essentially have security products that their whole purpose is to identify and protect against their threats. And when we look at servers, and we just had the discussion here, there are solutions that their whole purpose is to identify and protect against threats. Very simple. A lot of technology, a lot of complexity, and etc. But when it comes to the mobile devices, I would ask you, how many of you have a solution that is capable of identifying and protect against threats on the mobile? And this is something that we see in the wild, and a very big problem that was not really solved. We see a lot of vendors around the space, so mobile security is obviously a hot topic. Everyone understands that everything moves into mobile. So we see a lot of companies that are trying to come up with innovation around it, but all of them are practically doing the same. And this is why we decided to put our focus on. So Skycure started with Yair Meet, my co-founder, who's I've been working with him closely in the past 14 years, and he was the lead researcher at Watchfire and the manager of the worldwide application security research at IBM.
So you describe what appears to be a simple problem. So why hasn't it been solved today? What are the obstacles? What are you doing differently?
Yeah. So I think there are two main types of problems here for why companies didn't succeed so far. The first one is fully understanding and addressing the needs of the buyer. Essentially today we are selling to the security buyer or the IT team, sometimes mobility team, and they have two types of challenges over there. One is their own organizational challenge. So whether it's security, obviously, visibility, none of them know and can give you some numbers about how many times were their employees under attack in the past month, what types of threat, where did that happen, and etc. And all of these are related to organizational needs. But what we realized early in the beginning of Skycure is that there is another part of the equation, and that is the employees. And employees, they want seamless experience. They want to continue on using their iPhone as they bought it for. They want to make sure that their privacy stays intact. They want to make sure that there is no connectivity, anything that would block them from doing as much business as they can in this mobile sense. So this is one thing, and understanding those needs is something that is by our core DNA, and all the products that I've seen failed in each of these categories. The second element is the technology. Essentially, we're talking about mobile platforms which run in a very different mechanism than desktops and servers. We are not root on the device. There are stores, Apple Store, Google Play Store, and etc. That create a huge amount of technical challenge to come up with a security solution. So the old paradigms that we had cannot be implied in this field.
No, it's interesting. You know, sometimes we forget that when we have a security solution, it's also important to remember that most of our users are good people, and we don't want to affect their seamless use of their devices and on our network. So how do you balance security with making sure that your users are still efficient?
This is a great note, by the way, because we see that in some organizations, the employees actually fail the deployment of products in the mobile. You know, eventually it's their own mobile device in many of the cases, and I will not install it. That's it. End of game.
Yeah, no, and especially with all the bring your own devices now, it's an even bigger issue. So how do I meet my security needs while not affecting your user experience? That's the challenge. So speaking of that challenge, you talked about bringing visibility to your customers. How do you do that through the lens of not diminishing that user experience?
Yeah. So our solution consists of two main components. One is on the device, the other one is on the server. And during that technology, on the device, we have a lot of innovation that is capable of identifying the threats in the background. So it goes with you 24/7. And when there is an attack or a threat, you're simply automatically protected. In most organizations, they configure it so that the end users will get alert on this for education reason. But you cannot trust the employees to make any decision in order to protect themselves. Going back to the other side, the management console, over there you have a dashboard that gives you all of this visibility. So for example, one of our organizations, they have more than 1,000 employees worldwide. So in the dashboard, they can go and they can see which departments are affected the most, what types of attacks are happening the most. And according to that, actually make additional decisions that are based on numbers and actual threats, not on assumptions. Which today was really lacking.
Okay, so let's use our audience here as sort of a lab test group here. So can you tell us what would be the likelihood of someone in this room being subject to some of the attacks that you help to deal with, and then how would you deal with it?
Yeah, so first of all, we have devices running all over the world, so we have these statistics, and there is a 23% likelihood that your device will encounter a threat in the next month. And by talking about a threat, I'm talking about an active threat. I'm not talking about a theoretical, maybe something could happen. No, I'm talking about the password of that specific device will be leaked out to an external party. We also see a variety of threats around this. Mainly, there are 4 types of problems. There is the physical access problem, physical access to the device. This is lost and stolen devices. Everyone usually know when that happens, usually. But the things that you are less aware of are elements that relate to the network. All the networks that you connect to. How many of you connected to the Wi-Fi network here, or tried to connect to the Wi-Fi network here? Okay, how many of you connected to any Wi-Fi network in the past month? Okay, how many of you did not connect to any Wi-Fi at all? 1. Do you have Wi-Fi at home? Did you connect to that? You don't connect to your home Wi-Fi? Okay, great. By the way, this is only one type of threat. Wi-Fis are well known and well discussed. This is one type of threat which we are very strong on, but there's a variety of threats that you are affected by. And each network, there is 10% likelihood that each of these networks that you connected to contained an active threat at one point. So think about it. How many networks did you connect to with these devices? The person that did never connect to a Wi-Fi network, I would love to talk to you afterwards and show you some ways where we identified where hackers can cause your device to connect to the Wi-Fi even though you have never done that before in your life. We're strong on research as well as you know. So.
Sure, and I think it's always sobering to hear the statistics and to know that if you look in front of you, look behind you, look to your left, look to your right, one of you is going to have your data taken off your mobile device. And as we move to more mobile payments, as we move to using our devices for basically everything, that becomes even a larger challenge. Also, just want to underscore that one of the unique aspects of particularly Israeli cybersecurity companies that we encounter on the investment side is the understanding of preserving the user experience. And I think that that's an important point that sometimes gets lost with a lot of these solutions, because at the end of the day, security is like anything else. If people don't have an easy way to use it, they won't use it. So that's important. Last thing I want to touch on before we go is you had a little article written in a magazine probably no one's ever heard of called Forbes. It's a startup, Forbes mag. Anyway, they were talking about a project you're working on called maps.skycure.com. Could you tell everyone a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this relates to geolocated problems. Many of the attacks that are happening from someone nearby, whether it's in an airport where a lot of business activities, business people are going through, and etc. And we have this massive database of intelligence on all of these attackers and all these incidents that are happening worldwide. And people constantly come to us and ask us questions about it, whether it's an analyst that want to know if there are more attacks taking place in airports than in city centers, whether it's the IT person who wants to know of every new attack in the area of his office, and whether you as people that go here to a conference and would like to know which networks to avoid or what other things they should be concerned about. So we decided to disclose some of this intellectual property. We created maps.skycure.com. You can go online with any browser and you search for any location in the world. And what we will do is we will look into our database and we'll give you up to 10 places where an incident actually happened on. So feel free to do it at your own spare time. And before you talked about statistics, so I believe that statistics are help getting people intrigued, but eventually as a person, you don't feel the statistics, right? So we have a free app on the Google Play, on the Apple Store. You can simply download and install it. You get automatic detection from many of the threats that we identify, not all of them. It's still a free version. And you will be able to experience on yourself. And 23% of you will encounter a threat in the next month. So
yeah, it's, the statistics are interesting and raise your eyebrows until they happen to you, and then you have a holy crap moment that you have to deal with. Anyway, Adi, thank you so much. And remember, that's a free tool, folks, so check it out, get some exposure, and thanks for being with us. I know we have another group coming up.
Thank you.